Hey, what's up, everybody? It's RJ here, and welcome back to the Find Your Flow channel. In today's video, we are going to take a look at a clip from this month's peak performance coaching session where we were talking about creativity and how we as peak performers can develop our creativity and find some creative practices that will help us to balance out that drive for always pushing for, growth and progress. Creativity is really one of the key triggers for flow states, and it's also something that helps to balance out our need for those higher performing tasks. When we have something that we can do that's creative, it's often a way to be like a release valve for some of that pressure that we put on ourselves. And so in this specific clip, I want to talk a little bit about the relationship between mindfulness and creativity. And so as you'll see in this, there's a little bit that we need to take into consideration with mindfulness and how we practice, meditations if we want to develop creativity and not just be in that single point focused state of meditation that we often think of when we talk about mindfulness. So check out the clip. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll talk to you again soon. Thanks.
The good news is for most of us peak performers when it comes to this aspect of creativity is that it's driven by dopamine. And, most of us are highly dopaminergic. So the fact that we've got that for ourselves is going to lend us to want to be curious. And I think, this is where it comes back in that because it is dopamine and dopamine's central to the flow state, it's also central to creativity because it's those spikes of dopamine that can kind of lead to some of these insights. And we get that dopamine release in flow when we start to let our brains come down from the more anxious beta state and reach into that alpha state, which is where we start to trigger into flow and we get this aspect of insight and creativity. And so now it's all about mindfulness, the next trait that we can work on quite a bit to develop creativity. And I believe that this is one it's interesting because there's two aspects to it when it comes to mindfulness and creativity. The first thing is we can't just practice that single point focus mindfulness all the time if we want to be our most creative. We actually see that people who are really dialed in, it's almost like the same thing with mastery. If you're super focused and dialed in, laser sharp, it's really useful for flow states, and it's really useful for the cognitive control that we need in order to get that deep work done, in order to stay focused for hours on end in a flow state, or to get into flow in the first place, and to maintain for peak performance, and also whatever we're working on creatively. But the other aspect is that if we're constantly doing single point focus or like that mindfulness meditation, it's actually somewhat of something that takes away from our ultimate forms of creativity. We need to allow that daydreaming aspect or mind wandering just as much as that single point focus. So there's different ways that you can do this. That could be that you're going to do one practice of single point focus meditation or mindfulness meditation throughout the day, and that you're also going to allow yourself another time frame where you're going to just do some daydreaming or let your mind wander. I know another thing or another sort of style is Tom Bilyeu, who runs Impact Theory, likes to call it thinkitation, which is kind of like a silly name that he's just made up for it. But the idea is that when he's doing his meditative practice, part of the time he allows himself to let that mind wander or think about things, and then he cuts it off and does more of that single point focus meditation. And you could set a timer, maybe you're going to do 10 minutes of each, or you've only got 5 minutes at a time of each, so that you get like a bell ring or something to alert you that it's time to switch over to more of your focused state, or vice versa. This is something that we can work on and develop for ourselves so that we've got that middle path between the focus style of meditation and also more of the mind wandering that's important to creativity.